Want to get a bunch of energy into play as quickly as possible and just start wailing on your opponent? Well, you are in luck because today we're talking about the reincarnation of my favorite promo card of all time as an EX, Mewtwo EX. And this deck is going to stand out in the 2004 format because it only has 10 Pokemon, only 4 of them basics, and those are going to be your Mewtwo EX. Clearly, you're going to be giving your opponent a lot of mulligans, so you have to make sure that the card advantage you're giving to them is worth the effect you're getting by always starting with a Mewtwo EX. Well, if there's only 10 Pokemon and only 4 basics, which are Mewtwo EX, a card that does not evolve, what are the other 6 Pokemon? The title of the video may have given you a clue, but we'll go ahead and jump into the deck list to fully explain. As mentioned earlier, we got 4 copies of Mewtwo EX from EX Ruby and Sapphire. 100 HP on this basic Pokemon. A little bit daunting to have to face on turn 1. For 1 energy, you can use Energy Absorption. Attach 2 energy cards from your discard pile onto Mewtwo. So your first turn attacking, you're not always going to be able to have that many energy in your discard to fully utilize Energy Absorption. That's okay because you're not always going to have to get off an Energy Absorption in order to start hitting Psyburn on your second turn attacking. And that is thanks to Team Aqua's Lantern and Team Aqua's Manectric. So let's look at Lantern first. It has the Auxiliary Light Poke Power. Once during your turn, you may attach a basic energy card from your hand to Team Aqua's Lantern. Put 2 damage counters on the Lantern after you do that. So it's energy acceleration straight from your hand onto Lantern. That doesn't do much for Mewtwo until Team Aqua's Manectric gets involved. Its Poke Power Power Shift allows you to move any number of basic energy cards from one Team Aqua's Pokemon to another Pokemon. The secondary Pokemon does not have to be Team Aqua's, so the combo here is clearly accelerate energy onto Team Aqua's Lantern, move them from the Lantern to the Mewtwo EX with Team Aqua's Manectric, and then you are ready to start hitting Psyburn turn after turn after turn, meanwhile keeping Mewtwo as healthy as possible. Yeah, Psyburn's 60 damage isn't going to OHKO most things, but early enough in game you're going to hit a lot of basics, and even mid to late game you're going to be able to two-shot a lot of the metagame, especially the non-EX decks. If you find yourself in a situation where you're up against a lightning weak deck, you can also utilize Lantern and Manectric to do some pretty hefty damage, and power them up using the same engine that you're using to power up Mewtwo EX. You have a pretty decent built-in trainer base to help out Mewtwo EX because a lot of your draw power is also going to be discarding cards from your hand. One such card is TV Reporter. Draw 3, discard 1. That's 1 energy card in your discard that you can absorb. Another great one is the 4 copies of Juggler we have in this deck. Discard up to 2 basic energy cards from your hand. If you discard 1, draw 3 cards. If you discard 2, draw 5 cards. This just reads as put 2 basic energy cards in your discard and draw 5 cards. Perfect for an easy energy absorption Mewtwo setup. For a little bit of additional draw power, we also have 2 copies of Steven's Advice. And to search out those Mewtwo's, I got 4 copies of Dual Ball. Yes, you have to flip coins, but there's only 4 Mewtwo's you're really looking for in this deck, and you're going to be able to hit them off of Dual Ball. One of the primary strategies for Mewtwo EX is going to be dragging Pokemon off of your opponent's bench and hitting them with Psyburn, especially Pokemon that have 60 HP. So Warp Point is going to assist in that. Sometimes you will just Warp Point, and you do take your Mewtwo out of the active position, but Team Aqua's Lantern and Team Aqua's Manectric only have a retreat cost of 1, so it's going to be pretty easy to get a Mewtwo right back into the active position. Hopefully, hit one of your opponent's weaker Pokemon on the bench off of a Warp Point. If that doesn't work, we also have 4 copies of Pokemon Reversal to try and accomplish the exact same thing. You flip a coin if heads gust out something and knock it out, because you're going to be gusting out something pretty small. Now, in order for this strategy to work, Mewtwo EX needs to stay in play and consistently deal damage every turn. It doesn't help you out a ton to start attacking first and to deal damage quicker than your opponent if you're not going to be able to sustain that. So Pokemon Nurse is going to allow you to fully heal a Mewtwo back to 100 HP. Yes, you have to discard all the energy cards attached to it, but you can easily get those back with Mewtwo's energy absorption or through the shenanigans of Lantern and Manectric. Hyper Potion's going to do something similar. This is just a nice little trainer card, so you can use multiple of these per turn if you really want to. When it comes to healing your Pokemon, you can discard 1 or 2 basic energy cards attached to that Pokemon. If you discard 1, remove 3 damage counters from that Pokemon. If you discard 2, remove up to 5 damage counters from that Pokemon. So it's kind of like a healing version of the Juggler up here. And then, of course, we do not have Team Aqua's Chinchou or Team Aqua's Electrike in this deck. And so in order to get the Lantern and Manectric into play, you're going to have to play them straight from your deck utilizing Archie. That is why we have a full playset of Archie in here. If your opponent does not know what type of deck they're up against, this is going to catch them way off guard. When you just say, I play Archie, I search my deck for a Team Aqua's Lantern, I put it straight onto the bench, I automatically utilize its Pokemon power to play another energy from my hand onto it, and then they'll probably know what's coming. By that point in time, you've already probably used an energy absorption off of Mewtwo and fully powered it up, but you could dual ball, get another Mewtwo onto the bench, use another Archie on turn 3 to get Team Aqua's Manectric into play, and now not only are you accelerating energy into play from your hand, you're also moving those energy over to your secondary and your third Mewtwo EX. So you can bypass the energy absorption on those Mewtwo's altogether because they're already going to be ready to go thanks to the Lantern and the Manectric. Once this ball starts rolling, it's pretty hard to stop unless you just have something that can OHKO a Mewtwo. Otherwise, it's going to heal, and then even if you're having to discard a bunch of energy off of it, it's going to be able to get those energy back either through energy absorption or just the Lantern Manectric combo. And then finally, I got 4 copies of Strength Charm in here just in case you're up against those Pokemon that have 70 HP. This is going to give you an option to OHKO those off of a successful Pokemon reversal. Over on the energy side, I got 4 copies of Multi-Energies just so you can utilize those for the Lantern and the Manectric. Each one of them only needs 1 Lightning Energy in order to use their 50 damage attacks. So if you can hit something for weakness, you might as well get one of these into the active spot and hit your opponent for 100. And if that doesn't knock it out, you're going to be able to follow that up with a pretty hefty Psyburn attack to finish the job. And then to round out the deck, we got 13 Psychic Energy that you're going to be discarding using your TV Reporter and Juggler, and then recycling right back into play using Mewtwo EX's energy absorption early game. You're not always going to be able to hit those turn 1, turn 2, turn 3 perfect steps, but even if you're delayed by a turn, dealing a consistent 60 damage every turn and not really having a huge consequence to healing, it's a lot to have to deal with early game, especially if you're playing a stage 2 deck and you have this Mewtwo just hitting you for 60 before you can evolve. This deck excels at getting energy into play, quickly utilizing those energy to make 3 energy attacks feel like nothing, and recovery. That being said, this deck is wildly inconsistent because it only has 4 basic Pokemon, and yeah, you're gonna be doing a lot of mulligans. This is just another version of Mulligan Mewtwo. Late April Fools, everyone. But really, when it works well and you win games. But when you stall for a turn, or when you're up against something that has 150 HP, or when you don't have a second Archie on turn 3, you better hope that your opponent is also stalling or you've already lost the game. The entire support half of this deck relies on 1 card, which is Archie, and if you're not drawing into it soon enough, then your Lanterns and your Manectrics are not even going to see play. This is 100% a gimmick deck, and if you don't get your gimmicky pieces together, then the deck falls apart. If you are looking for a more consistent build of Mewtwo EX that can reliably get it set up without having to rely on some simple gimmicks, then stay tuned for the next video when I cover the stable version of this deck. Be on the lookout for MGMD in the coming days. I did want to give a little bit of time and spotlight to Aqua Mewtwo because it is a novel idea and I think it looks good on paper. It's just in practice it can be very frustrating. So I appreciate you giving this video a watch and giving me some airtime to get this dumb idea out of my brain. As always, let me know what you thought of the deck down in the comments. Also, let me know what type of Pokemon TCG content you'd like to see on the channel. I'm always open to suggestions. I'll see you at the next one. Bye bye.